But yeah, because at that point, I had already tried marketing. I've already like tried Facebook ads with another provider, and I was set on trying to find off-market deals. Like that was what I wanted to do. So I knew that I had to, put the money into doing that. And not that I wanted to, I didn't want to do everything myself. I didn't want to be the one making the calls, making 200 calls a day. Like I knew there was a better way to do that. So yeah, I mean, I think with any marketing, you have to stick it through. You got to do it for 3 to 6 months before you really, get the real results of it. I think we were lucky enough to get deals in our first and second month, which was awesome. So yeah, it's definitely a process.
But like you'll literally like where does that, I think there's multiple questions in this, but like you're pretty calm.
Yeah.
And I feel like your superpower is like being able to just kind of like orient to the numbers. Like, okay, well, like the number, like if the numbers make sense, like I'll do it, right?
Yeah.
And you, like, have you always been that way? Like when you were young, like very, because I almost see that as logical, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's such a superpower because, when it comes to marketing or anything, dude, I mean, things are gonna have their peaks and troughs, and like to be able to just be like, well, I mean, it's just, it'll level out, right? Like, have you always been like that? Is that like when you have more cash in the bank, can you be more like that? Like what creates that?
I mean, probably the logical and like analytical part of me has always been there. Yeah, I mean, that's always how I've been. But yeah, I mean, as far as being okay with letting the money just flow, yeah, you have to have a little bit of money, I think, to be okay with that. Because I think we went a couple months there where there was no deals, but there was deals before, and obviously we stuck it out. We made some adjustments, and the deals kept flowing after that. So if I was one of those type of people where it's like, oh, this isn't working anymore, like, I'm not doing this anymore, I would have lost out on all the deals we've done since then. I think we've done another 10 or 15 deals since then from the system. So, yeah, I mean, money helps, obviously, but I think you should go into anything with marketing, and really anything, with the mindset of sticking it out until, you exhaust all the options. Like, I wasn't just going to stop after 3 months. Even if we didn't get a deal, we probably would have went for 6 or 8 months before I would have like said, okay, that's enough.
Because I feel like that's not, maybe it's not common to me and just some of the, the people that I've been around, but I feel like, yeah, just that perspective, like, did you learn that? I know you've obviously been analytical and logical in that way, but like to do that in a business context where there's actual money that you're investing and going out, like, it's different to just be like, like, I don't know, dude. Like,
no, it's definitely a muscle that, a skill that's kind of been developed because over the time of flipping houses, because, things go wrong, things happen, projects take longer than you expect them to. You either make what you expected to, you make less, you make more. It's like there's a lot of unknowns going into like flipping a house. So I think that over time, after I did 50, 60 flips, it's definitely like, something that just was kind of developed. But we're in a world now that people want, instant gratification, and in business, it's just not like that, So, yeah, it's definitely something you have to learn, and if you don't have that skill already, business is going to have to teach you that.
Yeah. And I feel like because I feel like, I see kind of the dynamic just because it's what, it's part of what I look at and view, but like, I feel like my dynamic with Jake, I feel like he's more similar to you in that sense. Like he's more like, like just like calm almost.
Go with the flow type.
Yeah, and just more like, but I feel like you kind of balance Carlos in a way. Like just intuitively, that's what I pick up. He's more like, he could be like, let's go. And then maybe more like me, like, oh man, like discouraged, where you're like, you don't really have that spectrum where you're going to be overly excited. Like even with the deals, like you're just like, yeah, we got 2 more. I'm like, yeah, like I'm pumped, and you're just like, I planned it. Like this is what
it's like expected by this point. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, it just takes time of being in business. Like, of course, my first deal I got, I was like super excited, and it's a balance, like you said. I think I do have that part in me where it's like I want to go, and like, you know, spend more money, get more deals. It's always, you know, what you want, but yeah, you know, it's just, I guess it's just my personality. I don't know.
Yeah, no, and I feel like it's just you know, other investors that we've connected with have like a similar kind of archetype or characteristic where we've seen that, where it's just like, and it's perfect that that's what you guys do, right? Like, you guys are the numbers people. You guys have the ability to solve the problem, right?
Yeah.
Where an agent solves a problem, and I think different consumers need different solutions depending on where they are. But you know, you're not advertising all of this stuff to hopefully get that result. You're coming in saying, look, this is matter of fact, this is what we can offer, this is what you're going to net, and it may be for you, it may not be for you. It's as simple as that. But I feel like that's, you know, probably why investing kind of attracted you, right? Like, in some way, like it's a simple, it's not easy, but
it's a simple, that's why I like real estate, is it's a simple business. I mean there's a lot of moving parts that go into it, but you're buying a house, you know, you can see what it's going to be worth by looking at the comps. You can project what the rehab costs are going to be. Of course, there's going to be things that change along the way, but you know, it's a pretty set thing where you can kind of project what's going to happen, and I've always liked that structure. So yeah, I mean, investing, flipping houses like was suited for me. But yeah, we're providing our solution to someone's problem, and there's a lot of solutions out there. So, and I've tell people all the time, it's like, we might not be the best fit for you. This is what we can do, just like you said. But if you want to list your house, you know, there's other things you can do. You can refinance, you can list it. There's other things you can do to get out of a situation where you want to sell your house. So we're just providing our solution. If it works for you, great. If not, then, you know, we're happy to point you in the right direction. I always like educating sellers too on what's out there. You know, if I'm not going to be your fit, of course I'm going to push for our solution because it's what we do. But if that's not going to be the fit for you, then I want to educate you on what else is out there. And I tell them beware from other wholesalers and what their tactics are and what to look out for. And same thing with agents. I mean, you know, agents are good and they have their place. But in some situations, you're going to net the same, maybe even sometimes less, sometimes more than our solution, and it's going to take you 30, 60, 90 days, rather than with us, we'll close in 14 days or something like that. So you have to, you know, for every seller, they have to weigh those options and see, you know, what makes sense for them. Yeah,
and I mean, not only does it take the time, but I mean, there's, you know, it's not as objective as like you guys going in there and just purchasing the house if that's the right solution. Like, they may, you know, they got to do showings, they got to do all these things, right, that really is at the end of the day just hopefully to create the same result. So that's why I think too, even with our system, like, and how it worked with you guys, was because, you know, with online ads and stuff like that, like, you have to, if somebody's like doesn't really know what their solution is and isn't really clear about their offer, I feel like you're not going to convert, whether it's online or anything. But the fact that like we're connecting you guys with these sellers, and you guys have the solution like readily available. It's not like you have to go and, all right, let's go get the sign, let's go do all this stuff. It's like, we can make this happen like
today.
Right, yeah. I think that after like really analyzing just a lot of the projects I've done and the success that we've had with this, I do feel like it's really connected to the offer. It's so clear, it's so clean, it's so simple. It's like, we will buy a property in any condition for cash. Like, there it is. Like, it's just so cool to see that, like, you know, that has really turned into something where, yeah, dude, when you told me that day, I was like, what? Like, there's no way that like we got all these deals from this system. Like, I believed it, but it was just like, it's just crazy to see that like through something that I'm kind of just doing online, right? Like you're able to actually like flip these properties, you know, and actually go out there and help people. And I know there have been certain scenarios where that one story you told me where you kind of helped out that homeowner and like he, I think like, he had tenants, right? And you were just able to communicate with the tenants in a way that made them feel good, and like you were able to like actually help, because a lot of the time people need money, you know. And I think being able to provide that is like, that's sometimes what people need, dude, going in there. And
I think you're talking about the one in Orange where the owner was out of state. The tenant had lived there for 10 or 12 years or something like that, and was just a problem tenant. They were doing drugs. I mean, you know, it was a bad situation, and they hadn't paid rent for over a year to the seller or to the owner at that time, and he had tried for months to try to get them out, evict them, whatever it may be, and was unsuccessful. I went over there and talked to the tenant, and we had an agreement, shook hands on an agreement like that day on when he was going to leave. You know, how much I was going to pay him. Everything was laid out for him. And it worked, you know. I mean, we, know how to navigate those situations with tenants. And a lot of times it is money that people need. And that's why we, budget for that in our numbers. And when a property has tenants, we take that into consideration. But I think we paid that guy, the tenant, like $6,000 or $7,000 to move out in 30 or 45 days, and all parties were happy. He was happy. There wasn't like this, like, headbutting.
Me out,
I'm not kicking him out. I'm not evicting him. He doesn't have that on his credit or his record. Obviously, the seller was super happy. We were able to take that property off his hands without him having to deal with that anymore, which was a headache for him. I mean, it was stressing him out for over a year. So no one wants to deal with that. Of course, the price is lower, but that the seller got, but it's because of the situation. I mean, he wasn't able to sell that on the regular market in that condition or with the tenants in place. It was impossible. So that's where our, offer and our solution, has its place. There was no other solution for him, and we left that with everyone being happy. We got the property at a good price for what made sense for our business. The tenant left. He was supposed to use the money to go to rehab or whatever it may be, but he was happy and seller was happy. So,
and I mean, and you can't. That's kind of where that's what you guys do, And I think too, like, I mean, this is just my thought, but I feel like people, like, this family or this gentleman, like, I feel like he trusted you because of that, like, calm demeanor and kind of matter of fact. Like, there's probably people that, like, obviously, one of the purposes of business is to make money and make profit. And I think there's some people that, they're so kind of overtaken by that, like, greed to make money that they may not really have the right solution. And I just feel like you have this like this calmness where, like, you can offer that, and you're not really like persuading or really trying to make them do anything. And I feel like that's just what I get from you. Like, I feel like the more I've just evolved in business, and it's like, if I'm gonna go take my car to get fixed or something like that, like, do you want the sales guy that's like, yeah, you need, this and this and this, and has all this enthusiasm, or just kind of the guy that works on the cars, like, you just need to fix that. Like, you kind of trust that guy, and I feel like you have that, and I think that's why people, I mean, that's even literally in the name, but I feel like there is that, and there's young, hungry investors that they want to get that property and make money, and everyone goes through their process, but I feel like that, like, experience you've had and just who you are, like, people feel like, you weren't trying to convince them. It was just like,
no, I mean, of course I wanted the deal, but
sure.
and I'm a hungry, like motivated person, but I just feel like what's going to come to me is going to come. You know, if it's not this deal, there's going to be another one. You know, if this guy decides that he doesn't want to sell to us, if another investor comes in and offers him more, like great, you know, it is what it is. So I just know that, you know, like I said, what's coming to me is still going to come, and I just have that, you know, reassurance that, you know, not every deal is going to, you know, make or break me. So.
Yeah, no, and I love that. Like with that photo that you posted, or however we want to say it, you posted it. It seemed like you posted it, but yeah, if we could kind of touch on kind of where you were then, and just. Yeah, I mean, it looked like you were literally like, you started remodeling these flips, right, from A to Z, right?
Yeah.
So maybe if you could just share that story, or just where you were at that point, like you were attempting to flip those properties, or where, take us
I mean,
through.
I was always, you know, had a passion for real estate. I studied architecture in high school and college. I mean, I knew I wanted to be in real estate, investing in some capacity. So that was always there. I just didn't know how to make the jump into it. You know, I always had this idea that you needed a lot of money, and you know, I think you do need some, but I just didn't have the knowledge or resources to get into it. And once I met the right people and got a mentor and stuff like that, you know, those opportunities and avenues were available to me. So, yeah, I mean, I was working a normal 9-to-5 sales job, and I didn't like it. I wanted to be in real estate. So, like I said, once I met the right people, I got my real estate license. I started with that, and it just became like a progression, one step at a time, to get to where I wanted to be. But yeah, when that first property is the one you're referencing. A lot of those pictures were from my very first flip. So yeah, the first maybe 5 or 6 flips that I did all of the work myself. I mean, of course I had help. We had you know, subcontractors that would come in and say do the painting, but I was there every single day. You know, 6 days a week, 7 a.m. to sometimes 7, 8 at night, like just grinding to get this thing done, because at that time I had, you know, no money. You know, this $50,000 I was going to make from this flip was everything to me. You know.
And you had debt, right? Was that from school, or
just debt? Yeah, credit card debt. You know, you name it. Like I almost got a car repossessed. You know, just debt. Late on a lot of payments, a lot of collections, just stuff like that piled up over the years. And I always told myself,
you needed that deal. Yeah. Like it was like
I said, that was everything to me. So I was super invested in every project at that time. And not that I'm not that now, but you know, it just, every single deal back then meant so much. So, but yeah, I mean, I was the painter. I literally laid the flooring. We did the baseboards, like, you know, everything from start to finish. And of course I have my license too, so when it came time to sell it, I listed it, sold it. And you know, it's hard because you have so much invested in that property, and then someone comes in and, like, you know, says, oh, I don't like the paint color or the flooring, and you're like, I put that.
Emotionally?
Emotionally
you were invested. Like, yeah, especially at that time, because like, yeah, I didn't really think about it that way, but like, yeah, if you're actually physically investing your energy and building it, and like I didn't even think of that until you said that, like that someone would be like, oh, I don't like this,
and walk out, and like that just, like, you know, hits you. Of course now things are different. The market was totally different back then too. It was, you know, it wasn't a crazy seller's market like it is now. You would get one offer on a property and you would take it if it made sense. You know, it wasn't like it is now where you're getting, I mean, just listed a property, I think we got 12 offers in the first week on it. So it's like, if someone doesn't like the house, I'm like, okay, there's going to be 5 other buyers behind you that are going to like it. But when you have everything riding on one deal, and every single seller that walks in the door could be, you know, your ticket to that 50 grand, or whatever it may be, you know, it matters a lot. So yeah, you know, we had one offer, we accepted it, we closed it, it worked out, but you know, it just was a different time. It was a way different time.
So you knew when you started remodeling it, like you were gonna have a check for 50 grand?
I mean, that's what I always had in my mind. I mean, I said that for like a year up until that point, where I was like, I just need 50 grand to, like, you know,
breathe.
Yeah, pay off my bills, get set, like, do the things I want to do and get started in my life. I mean, I think I was like 24 or 25 at the time. So yeah, I just had $50,000 in my mind. I ended up making, I think, like $65,000 on that first deal. So yeah, it changed everything, and that was just a complete shift from, struggling to pay your bills to actually having money in the bank, where it's like you can, like you said, you can breathe again.
So that, like, I have multiple questions, but
yeah,
like, what do you think? Because I know I have my limiting beliefs around flipping, but like, you said you met the right people, and I think that was probably the biggest one. But what do you think, holds people back from flipping in terms of just starting? Because like, I see what you're doing, and I'm like, man, like, I kind of think like, yeah, I need a ton of money, I need millions of dollars, or yeah, it's just there's something just innately intimidating by flipping it, I guess, like, because I don't know how to, like, I could run a computer, but like, throwing up the walls and stuff, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's scary. I mean, obviously after doing it over 100 times, it's not as scary anymore. I know that I have the right systems in place, but that first deal, it was scary. I mean, I knew the numbers were there, but yeah, there's a lot of limiting beliefs on flipping, that you need a lot of money, which I thought you needed hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it just depends on which way you go about it. There's more money out there than there are deals for that money. So I tell people that all the time. It's like, your family, your friends, someone with the money that is needed to do your first flip. And there's amazing loans out there. I didn't really use any hard money loans up until a year or two into my career. I was lucky enough to have a private investor to invest in the flips, and he funded the purchase price and rehab costs. So, but those people are out there. You just have to be, you have to take away those limiting beliefs and believe that person's out there, and those opportunities will become available. One of my limiting beliefs was, well, I guess it wasn't really a limiting belief, but I mean, everyone always says that if I knew what I know now back then, I would have shaved 5-6 years off of my time to get to where I am now, and that was just the belief that I could scale it. I mean, we did one flip at a time, just one house, remodel it, sell it, get the money, buy another one at a time for
like Dave Ramsey style,
2 years.
Right?
Yeah, 2 years I was doing that. Not that it wasn't good. Like I was making good money, and everything. I was really happy with once I got that first deal done, with the trajectory of everything was going. But I could have turned it into a business, like a real scalable business, a lot faster. So just not putting limits on how quickly you can grow, how many flips you can do at a time, it's all unlimited if you put that out there.
And what was that insight, or what was the thing that you think, when you say that you could have scaled it faster, like what do you think were those missing pieces? Like just being hungry enough to get more deals, find more private investors, get a loan, or what?
Yeah, it was shifting from using private money, which private money is great, but there was a limited amount of it at the time, and going to hard money, where you create a lot more leverage. Like now, I only put 10% down on my deals, so the same 100,000 I can buy 10 houses with rather than just one. So that is just a major multiplier in a flipping business, is getting loans.
So on a more practical level, I know you probably can't say specifics on like a hard money loan or something like that, but yeah, what does that typically look like for somebody starting out? Let's say they have some money and they're like, oh, this sounds interesting. Like, what is a hard money loan, and like what's the like benefit of utilizing it versus like the private?
A regular mortgage or private. I mean, private's great. I would actually rather do private than hard money. Usually you can negotiate better terms, and a lot of times private money you don't have to put any money down. So private money is great. It's just you have to find and meet the right people that would be willing to trust you and invest in a project. So when you're brand new, it might be difficult. It's definitely, possible. But yeah, a hard money loan is just like any other loan, basically. It's just meant for a business type loan. They're not necessarily looking at your credit and income. They're looking at the property. They're analyzing the property and how much you're buying for, if there's upside there, how much the rehab costs are. They're looking at those numbers rather than looking at you. Can you pay this loan? Obviously that matters. They have to make sure you have.
They're really investors.
They're investors too.
They're just. Yeah.
So they analyze the deal just like I do. They want to know, okay, what you're buying for, what are your rehab costs, what do you think you're going to sell it for, and they make sure all those numbers are correct. And they give you the leverage. I mean, going into as a brand new investor, you probably won't get the same terms that I do. The interest rate will be higher, but you'll still get the same amount of leverage. So that's huge for anyone new out there. That you don't need. Depending on your market, obviously in Southern California and LA, you probably need a few $100,000 to do it. But across the nation, there's houses you can buy for $100,000. You're talking about putting 10 or 15 grand down on that property to buy it. So as long as there's upside, a $100,000 house probably needs to be worth maybe 150, let's say, to make the numbers work. But you don't need that much money to get started.
They don't. Yeah, no one's gonna just teach you this. It's like you have to seek it out and be kind of like ready to learn that information. Because as I've learned, like real estate is just one of those gems where there's so many incentives and there's so many things that, we've kind of designed, I guess, the country around, or I don't know how you want to put it, but that they're like, it's real estate, that leverage piece is. I think that's crazy that somebody that, could potentially put, $100,000 into something and get an asset that's worth $1 million. So when did you said that was the first few years in that you kind of branched out into exploring different ways to get money, right?
Yeah.
And was that just on your own, I'm sure your mentor and guides were, kind of planting those seeds, or how did you
Not really, actually.
Oh, okay.
I kind of wanted to grow. My mentor, if I didn't want to push, we'd be still remodeling houses, swinging hammer and doing all the rehabs ourselves to this day.
So you actually, that's an interesting point. That's super interesting.
Yeah, I was the one that was pushing to scale. Mentors there, they're comfortable, they're just to guide you, and help you meet your goals. If your goal is to remodel the house and do one flip at a time, they're like, great, let's do that. But if your goal is to flip 100 houses a year, then great, let's do that. So it's really dictated on your goals and what you want to do. It was me that pushed. Like I said, he would still be wanting to go and remodel the house and do everything ourselves. It was fun. It was a good time. I definitely enjoyed that time, but to be able to scale, it's just not scalable. I'm one person trying to go and remodel each house. It's not going to happen. So I was the one that pushed and said, okay, let's buy 2 properties and let me borrow a little bit more money. The system now is proven. We've done, say, 5 flips. Every single one has been profitable. Let me get money to buy 2 properties now and hire a contractor instead and do both at the same time. And that's what we did. And then, we did 2, we stayed around the 2 or 3 flip level at a time for another 2 years, and got comfortable with that. And then it was okay, I see people out there, I know it's possible. I had another friend, mentor, if you want to call it that kind of, pushed me into, really scaling into a business, because that's what he was doing. So without those reassurances out there, it would have been difficult to make those jumps. So it's important to, find those people in your industry and talk to them and figure out what they're doing and see if they'll help you out, at least point you in the right direction. Because like I said, without that, little insight into how he runs his business, I don't think I would be even doing what I'm doing now today. So those couple mentors and people in the business were game changers for my business.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of hilarious that the result you've gotten with the system, like, did that for me in my own way. Because, like, it's like, dude, I've worked with different people, and it's like, it doesn't work. Like, all of these things, right? So it's in its own way, like, indirectly, like, I had that experience not only of just, like, just kind of, like, expanding my paradigm and my horizon of, like, what's possible just in general, but then for you to do it with the system, like, it was even more, like, direct, because it was like I had heard, I've had my own doubts and had gone through my own processes with individuals I've worked with, and to know that it worked for you, right? And just have that actual, like, like, dude, this is, I think Gardy was like if there's like a pillar around the system, it's like that one, and I told you I drove by it, and it was just like, whoa, like some dude, like, clicked on this ad, and, like, here, like, I went when there were, like, people still working on it, I think, but so the other thing you mentioned, so, like, mentors and kind of guides, but then also I want to make sure I understood you correctly. So the mentor that you kind of were speaking to, where it was like, if it were up to him, like, we'd kind of just be remodeling, still to this day, one-to-one, are you saying that, like, it was kind of your, like, hunger and your motivation that inspired him to, like, see, like, hey, we can scale this too? Or was it more just the fact that he was willing to go wherever you wanted to go?
Yeah, I mean, he was willing to go wherever I wanted to go. I mean, I think everyone has their own idea of success, He was, content where he was, and he was content with doing one flip at a time. He's like, this is great, you're making X amount of money per year, like, what more could you want, type of thing. But my idea of what I wanted was a lot different. So once he saw my vision, then he supported me 100% with getting there. And
did he kind of, was he doing that? Like, was that something that he had accomplished himself and was like, okay, or was it more like he saw that vision you had, and he could help you in the way that he could help you, but it wasn't something that he aspired to do, or he never accomplished it, right?
Exactly. That's what I mean. He had his own idea of success and what it looked like, and he had done the same thing. I mean, he flipped houses here and there. He was a buy and hold investor, but he never, like, scaled a flipping business. It was always just kind of like, this is like what I did on the side. I would flip, a house or two a year, make an extra $100,000, and that was great. That was great for him. For me, I wanted to turn it into a business, and I knew it was possible, because, like I said, I kind of had two mentors. The second one was, a big flipper in Orange County. He was doing probably 40, 50 flips per year, and seeing that, and he was a young guy. He was similar. I think he's only a couple years older than me. And seeing how that was possible, and how he raised private money, and he wasn't really using much of his own funds either. And how he kind of utilized hard money loans and stuff like that. It's just,
the tricks of the trade.
Just made me believe like this is possible. It's not that much harder than what I'm doing now. It's like I'm working 6 days a week, like, going and remodeling houses, like sweating and, putting in, like, real hard work, when I could be, step back and oversee projects rather than being in them every single day. So yeah, it was just a big shift. But yeah, I think you have to have that. Like I said, I guess that was that for you with the system, but you have to have that picture. And it doesn't have to be an in-person, a real mentor. It could be, I mean, now things are so much different. I mean, Instagram was barely becoming, like, a thing. Of course, there was YouTube and stuff like that, but I think those resources are much more, like, readily available now. You can get a mentor that you just pay, and whatever, they can show you everything just over the computer, over a Zoom call. Like, it was, if they just show you the proof, if I saw it, in front of me, like, look, I'm doing this many flips, this is how I do it, like, that's all I needed to run with it. But it was different. Obviously, I was one-on-one with him, like driving in the car, going and looking at projects. But it doesn't have to be that. That's just the way it was for me back, because I was, 7 years ago now. I don't know where social media was at that time, but I know it wasn't like it is now, where there's like courses. Like I can pay $1,000 for a course today and learn everything I learned back then, in a couple hours. So the information is just more readily available now. It's easier to find those people.
So was that, like, in any way, was that challenging, like, not shedding that mentor, but kind of like aspiring for something beyond like what this person that had taught you so much? Was that tough, or not really?
Not really. I mean, it would probably be tough if he was trying to hold me back and keep me in the place where we were. That probably would have been tough, because then it would have been like this, thing where I'd have to break away from him. But no, it wasn't tough, because he supported it, and he's still, my mentor today. He's still investing in all of our projects today. So no, it wasn't tough. It was actually a pretty easy process, because he supported it.
And it sounds like you were clear. It wasn't like you set kind of this intention with him where it was going to be this and stay that way for this time frame. It was like, it seems like pretty early on you had showed the signs that, like, I want to scale it, like, I understand we're doing this now, but like, and so then I feel like it's lighter than like had you gotten into this like partnership where you're just doing these 1 or 2 deals a year or whatever, and then you're like hiding that, and you're like, dude, I actually want to scale, right? So you were clear, you were pretty set, and you knew that this is what it was then, but you wanted to expand. Yeah,
no, I planted the seed early on. I mean, I'm the one that came to him after I got my real estate license, like, look, I want to flip houses. Like, I know you've done it in the past. Like, excuse me. What do I need to do to get started? I'm the one that started from the very beginning. So, I mean,
I got you.
I'm trying to think of what you asked me.
I was just saying, like, was it, I mean, it was more just, because you were clear with him, and because you didn't get entangled and say that, like, your dream business was to do 1 or 2 flips a year. It wasn't like you really had to, like, part ways, because you were just like, I want to scale, I want to grow, and you just kept going with it.
At first it was kind of a shock to him. He was like, well, why do you want to do that type of thing? But then the next day he was like, okay, what do we need to do? So at first, like, it took him a day or two to like digest it, and then it was like, okay, well, let's do it. Basically.
It wasn't like a whole.
It wasn't like a thing, but I had planted the seed on, like, hey, what if we like hired a contractor? And he's like, well, why do you want to do that? We're doing good. But then literally like a couple of days later, he's like, okay, let's buy another one. I'm like, all right, let's do it.
So on the kind of the logistical side of because I see it like fulfillment, right? Like, you're buying these properties, that's like the acquisition. You got to get leads before that, then the acquisition, and then kind of the fulfillment. Like, you got to make it, look a certain way and get it to a certain standard to actually fulfill it. So I was fascinated that, like, and I still get fascinated, but so are there contractors, I think you've mentioned, they're like investor friendly, or they know you're an investor, they're like, they're clear about what you want, and they pretty much know how to fulfill it? Like, is that accurate? Or
I mean, pretty much, yeah. I mean, you want to have a contractor that understands the business and what your goals are, because most contractors are at the retail level, they just work with homeowners, and they're trying to fulfill their dreams on, like, whatever
fixing
they want.
just one-off projects,
making someone's projects. like dream house. For me, it was all about, we need to get this done. It needs to have a certain look, but I don't want to spend, we need to keep the budget here. And what can we do to, make it work without sacrificing quality or jeopardizing, workmanship. So, I think you definitely need a contractor that understands the business at least, and kind of knows the numbers a little bit to find the right person. I was lucky to find that person. Like, the first contractor I used, still my contractor to this day. And again, like if you want to scale a business and do 20 projects at once, you need more than one contractor. Like for me, I found that each contractor can only handle so many jobs, and you'll kind of figure out that threshold as you work with them, whether it be 2 or 3. Some people have bigger crews and have project managers and they can do 10 at a time or whatever it may be. But it's good to know where their threshold is, and every contractor is going to say, "Yeah, I can take on more work. Give me more work." They're all going to say that. Yeah. But your jobs are going to start slowing down because they're spread across more projects. So figuring out what that threshold is important, and hopefully your contractor's honest with how many projects he really can handle. For me, that guy probably can handle like 2 or 3 jobs at a time. And so I have other contractors, other subs that kind of fill in the gaps. But contractors are a super important piece to the whole puzzle.
Yeah, that sounds like, I feel like, unless you have the knowledge to, actually physically remodel everything yourself. Yeah. I feel like that's where the attention has to go, is like, assuming you know how to find a deal and stuff like that. But
that was an important step for me, because I had done all the work myself. I understood what went into it, and where you can save money and where you can't save money, and what good quality work looks like, and what bad work looks like. So it was an important step to at least like understand that part. Not that you have to go out and remodel houses yourself, not saying that, but at least understand what goes into it.
Yeah, I think the same thing too, just with my business, where it's like, the ads piece, like hiring somebody to do that, had I not learned, or just, I feel like the good thing about you learning is that if anything were to go horribly wrong, just for some reason, right? Or not even horribly wrong, because you would be aware of that before, but you always know that you have the knowledge to kind of correct it, versus somebody does something and you have no clue. It's like they go finish the whole thing, and you're like, you don't even know what you don't know.
Exactly.
So you always have that, like, you knew.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a very important part to it. A lot of investors do exactly that. They hire the wrong contractor, and they don't get rid of them early enough. And like you said, they get through a whole project and it looks terrible. Quality's not there. And in this market, you can kind of get away with it because it's such a seller's market that, it doesn't matter as much. But back when I first started, like, the details mattered. When a buyer comes in and like starts looking at stuff, if something's not right, they're gonna wonder what else isn't right in the property. Like, what else are they hiding, type of thing. And it could kill your deal like real quickly. And then you're struggling to find another buyer. And you probably have to go in and like go back and fix those things to find the right buyer, and not have to do a bunch of repairs and stuff like that. So
yeah, and I think that's what people hesitate to with flipping. It's a big investment, it's a big project, and you start messing things up that these are not $5-10 mistakes. A mistake could
There's big things that can go wrong. A lot of things have happened to us. There's been floods. There's been, cross my fingers, knock on wood, there hasn't been like fires. I haven't like burnt down a house or anything like that. But things have gone wrong, mostly due to either floods or rain or stuff like that. So things happen. It's kind of the nature of the business. So, but knowing how to recover and fix those things and move on is important. Minimizing the losses when they do happen.
And so you kind of took us through, just where you started, and just kind of that evolution from just realizing you wanted to scale it. And then, it sounded like that process, just you started kind of setting that as your goal. Getting the contractor, it sounds like that was a big, that's going to open up the bandwidth, because it's like, you're not now physically going to remodel them. So what was that next phase like when you actually got the contractor? Were you guys just investing more into acquisition? Were you calling? Were you, because I know people like knowing the sales part and how you were getting all these deals, but when you got the contractor out, what was the client acquisition process like? Were you calling? Were you?
Well, it was different back then because the market was different. We didn't do anything off market. I was an agent, and I was finding them all in the MLS. So when we were doing them one at a time, we would, I would look for it, find the deal.
So it was easy. It was kind of easy to find it.
It was a lot easier back then to find them. Yes.
So,
not that there wasn't like bidding wars and stuff like that, but you could find deals on MLS pretty easily. But yeah, once, in the very beginning, once we sold a deal, then I would go back to my office, start looking for deals. Each day I would have like 2 or 3 prospects. I would go look at those. Put the offers out and find the next property. So really when we got the contractor, my job focused to being just like a project manager, picking materials, going by the job, making sure everything was going smoothly, and sourcing more properties, which was, back then it was just looking on the MLS and looking at different projects and putting offers out there. So the whole off-market thing didn't really shift until we really started scaling the business. So like I said, we stayed at that level for a couple years where it was like 2 or 3 flips at a time, and it was really manageable. It was good. But then the next level of that was the market over that time has also shifted. It's become more and more of a seller's market. Inventory has tightened and tightened even more. So we had to start spending money on marketing to find more deals. That's just the way it is. I know a lot of people that find deals on the MLS still to this day, and they are really successful at it and are able to find enough to keep them busy. But for me, I just felt like going off market was the shift we needed to get the good deals. I mean, I was seeing them on the MLS that these fixers were selling for the price that I could pay for it, but the seller at the same time is paying their agents 6%, and they're paying closing costs another 1%. They're losing 7% right there in their sales price. So I'm like, I can pay this homeowner this price. Why do we need an agent? I'm an agent. Like, I can do the contracts, I can do the paperwork. So it was just kind of a shift there. It was like, I can help these sellers actually get more money and cut out the closing costs and stuff like that. So I knew there was a need for that. Obviously back then wholesaling was still a thing. Like we did buy deals from wholesalers as well. So they were doing that work and calling and doing all the legwork, and then I would get deals, served to me on a platter, which was nice. But of course I saw the fees that they were making. They were making 30, 40, 50 grand on a deal. I'm like, why are we paying these guys? Same with the agents. So it's just going around all that and going directly to homeowners. I knew it was going to be a process and money spent, and trying to figure things out. I mean, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of marketing money before I really figured it out. So, it's one of those things like you touched on in the beginning, where it's like you just have to you have to stick it through, and I was just set on trying to figure out the off-market thing. Like, I wasn't going to go back to buying on the MLS. So, it's just one of those things where it's got to go until you figure it out.
Yeah. And I think one of the things too that I was talking to Jake about this on the way here, but with your realization of just the agent and the wholesaler, I feel like, part of being successful in business is that you're able to look at your business and just kind of tear it apart. Like, if things aren't good, just to be able to realize this has to be better because the market's shifting, and people are able to more easily find these properties, and wholesalers were paying them this amount. So I feel like you being able to just just know that and persevere through that part of it and figure out an alternative solution is that kind of kicked off that next level of success, because you knew you had to go off market, but doesn't sound like that was commonplace at the time.
No, I mean, it wasn't for us, especially. I mean, like I said, there was definitely wholesalers and stuff out there. But I feel like today it's like you said, the whole wholesale thing is exploding. More and more people are getting into the business, and it's just more of those people out there. So back then it was less common, but it still was out there. But there wasn't all these, marketing services and stuff like that were readily available.
I know. It's crazy. Like we were just talking about that. Like there's so many. That's why we have to like differentiate what we do, because it's like, dude, there's so many people that will run an ad or whatever, and you just have to be okay. And I mean, we obviously think videos, it's not even the future, it's obviously clearly grounded in the now, that video and content, and you guys are making content. And what was that kind of shift like for you, or when did you realize, hey, we need to get more on the content? Was that Carlos? I feel like Carlos is kind of like...
Yeah, Carlos pushed that more than you know, I've always been like really private, and I didn't like sharing. I knew as a business it's something you have to do, is to get out there and do it. But yeah, Carlos kind of pushed that and helped me get into that. And it was, you know, it was one of those things that you're like, uncomfortable doing at first, and it kind of gets normal. But yeah, I was always super private. Like, you know, on my Instagram, I had 100 followers.
Dude, I don't even, because we met at the office in Rancho, and had you somehow followed me before that or no? Because I still see that white avatar with you, like a cartoon, and dude, I feel like you had followed me, or maybe it was right after that, but for whatever reason, I felt like you had followed me before.
It might have been, just from starting to go up to that office and stuff like that.
But I didn't even know, dude, I literally didn't even know, like, who you were.
Yeah.
Like, I had met you, but I didn't even know that was your account.
Right.
Like, for the longest time, because you were.
Because I didn't post anything.
Yeah, so I kind of forgot about that.
My face was not out there. It was a little cartoon thing, because I was like super private. Like, I didn't like putting that stuff out there. But it's a part of business, I think, you know, and being personable, and, you know, I think everyone has something to offer. So, yeah, putting that knowledge out there, you know, I was, you know, have a lot of knowledge and can kind of put that out there and spread it to people. And I think people are using it. Hopefully it like inspires them. They learn something from my page. At this point now, we have quite a bit of content out there. So I think it's just a part of business and branding now. So.
And I think one of the things that's cool too, though, because I do feel like there's two spectrums where, like, you know, making a lot of content and just like being in that entire kind of paradigm of just like content, but then also like, you know, still knowing that like value is that like North Star, that like you have to provide value. And I feel like with, you know, the system that we've ran together, like, I mean, maybe there's content on the Facebook page, but like, dude, it's just the funnel system. And I felt like it's kind of cool that we didn't really, you know, there's not really anything we did on the funnel that needed content or, you know, and I think that speaks to like, you know, if you know your market, then, you know, different things are going to work, because these people need a solution and they don't, I mean, maybe some content helps. I think, you know, we could figure that part of it out, but all these conversions, I mean, they're not watching content, right?
No.
They're just filling the thing out. And
I think the sellers have done some research before they start, you know, exercising their options. They probably know what's out there. They know, obviously, they can sell their house with an agent. They know there's investors out there. They're just curious. A lot of people that submit our forms just curious, like, how much our offer would be. So they're like, I know what market value is. I know what an agent can offer me. What can you guys offer me? So it's a lot of it is just being curious. Obviously, there's a lot of people that come in that say, oh yeah, I already know, like, they know the deal.
They're kind of sad. Like, I hear the phone calls and I'm like, dang, like, they're like, they're kind of like business people. Like, just like.
Yeah, and the people that are going that route off market, that already know, like, they can call an agent, they are savvy. I think they know a little bit more than the average, like, you know, seller knows. We've had people that are big real estate investors that own 30, 40 properties that are calling us and selling us multiple properties. Because they don't want to deal with it. A lot of times they have tenants in them. They don't want to deal with going in and fixing up their properties to get them ready to, like, you know, list ready or whatever for an agent to come in. And they just want a quick, easy solution, and that's what we're there for. But yeah, I think coming into it, I think sellers have at least done a little bit of research on what's out there, and they're just curious on what what we could offer them.
Yeah. So yeah, just to kind of close it, I feel like just maybe kind of bringing it back to right now. We kind of went through just the journey, and I feel like a lot's changed. And I mean, even since we first connected, it sounded like just through our conversation that even just a year before we connected, like you were in a different place. So we're here in the office. You got some people, like just maybe. I don't just touch on like, you have some team members, right? You have multiple marketing sources. Yeah. And I mean, your license plate's going to literally be deals. That's the nickname I gave you. So. Yeah, no, the expansion in our business, like the real scaling came in when you came into the business. Like I wasn't doing much other marketing. I think we were doing cold calling and a couple things like that. But I didn't really have a team back then. That whole thing really grew the last 12, 18 months, whatever it's been. But yeah, now we have a team of cold callers. We got 10 people calling overseas. We have 3 or 4 in-house people that are lead managers or closers. So we have a full-on team now, which, like I said, really happened the last year or so. Back when we first started, I was doing Facebook ads, and I think we were cold calling, or I was trying like ringless voicemail. At that time, I was really trying a lot of different things to see what was going to work and where I wanted to dump my money. I was testing a lot of things, and I had tested another Facebook provider, ad provider before you, where I think I got one or 2 deals from it very early on, and then like the lead quality went down, and they just weren't they weren't there to like support. They didn't really make the tweaks that were necessary. So I was like, okay, well, forget that. And obviously when we met, it was just made sense to give it a shot. So, but yeah, I mean that really like from that point, really the business exploded because. I was hungry and wanted to scale, of course, and then the right people came in. Carlos came in and into the picture, and really took it and ran with it. And I was able to, put the right people in place to grow it. And I knew if I put the money in that I was going to be getting deals out. That was the most important part to me. I think that's what you touched on too. It's like, I'll spend the money. I don't care how much it costs, as long as there's a return on it. So, I know with Facebook, I'm spending what I think it's $100 a day, and we're getting X amount of leads. I'm getting X amount of deals per month, and it's been pretty consistent. So, and every lead source is like that, whether it be, pay-per-click on Google or the cold callers. It's all, numbers and figuring out, how much you're spending per lead, how many leads it takes to get a deal, and so on and so on, and just, reverse engineer it and be like, how many deals I want to do, and this is how much I need to spend to do it. So now we're spending, $20,000, $30,000 a month on marketing channels, and, it's working. So that's insane. And shout out Carlos. Carlos closed all pretty much, right? I mean he worked all these leads, right? From the very beginning until we Carlos was the first person on the team. It was me and him, and he closed every single deal that came in. And then we were like, okay, let's why don't you just step back, be like the head of that part of it, manage all the spending, the ad accounts and stuff like that, and let's get someone in your place to close those deals. So, but he closed everything for the first 12 months. I mean, he has his own story, of course. Like, he started out cold calling for me and didn't do a deal for 6 months, and just kept at it, like he was hungry, just like I was when I first got in the business to figure it out. And he was here every single day. I was teaching him how to run numbers, run comps. I mean, it was a lot. He had no real estate background at all. He had done, like mentor type courses, and like he knew some stuff, but really getting in and like, seeing it from me, obviously I was doing it on how everything works was a big process for him. So, but I mean, he closed every single deal. He still closes all the Facebook ones. So, and we'll have to definitely do one with him, because he has it's a whole story. I mean, so he was kind of like running the ads. I mean, it seemed like he was running the ads and kind of doing some stuff. We we did some Spanish. That was funny.
Yeah.
Like made some Spanish meme ads. It's like didn't really work. But.
And that was the thing. Like I was just testing things out. Like we're throwing money at it. But yeah, there was an in between there where like I left the previous Facebook ad provider, and I was trying to fill the void. I'm like, okay, well let's try it. And we were spending a little bit of money on it. And then obviously you came into the picture, and it just took off from there with the Facebook side. But yeah, there was an in between where he was running the ads, because I think he had run Facebook ads for his other business. So he like knew something, he knew a little bit on how to like at least get him up and running. But I don't think we got a deal from any of his ads. So it takes someone that is in the trenches that knows Facebook ads to be able to really monetize them. So. You're not gonna be able to do it on your own unless you like are an ad genius,
ad wizard. Yeah, and then so now you've got just a team. You've got, you can see the expansion, and I feel like just through our conversation, we've had that kind of mutual connection around like building a business and building it to sell, and I feel like. Just seeing kind of that evolution, and that hopefully kind of inspires people to just see that like you can go from literally remodeling, doing everything yourself to like, now you've got more time. I know you're remodeling your house, and you're kind of just overseeing it, and you've just shared that you don't really want to, you don't want to be involved in not even be involved, but that you don't have to like, do every little thing for something to run well. And I feel like you've even showed me that just through conversations, just like, wow, we can, it's not just us, that can do this or learn this. So it's cool to see, dude. Just like, I know Carlos, like I could even see him like, just from when we first came out here to now, I feel like he's more like, now he's like, all right, you do, like I see it. So it's just cool to like see the progression and see that. And dude, it's dope. And
you got to have good people. I mean, that was hard for me to let go because I was doing everything myself. It's like letting go of those tasks and like trusting someone else with doing that stuff. And I think we talked about that too. I mean, I think did everything for a long time, and being able to like put the right people in place is like super important. But that shift is difficult. It's like, letting go of those tasks that you're really good at, and trusting someone else with doing it is a process. So you need good people. Obviously Carlos is a really good guy, and he's taken it and ran with it. Obviously more than I can do on my own. We're multiplying our power here in the business by two. And it's scaled that much faster. So
and I mean, since our conversation, we've got a team member now, and I was just telling Jake like I can't even literally imagine like going back. Like I'm like, if I somehow needed to, like, okay, I could do it, but I'm like, dude, like it's just, I did it too just because I wasn't even sure of what. I knew what we needed to do, obviously, but I wasn't sure that I had, this full time block of here's every little thing, right? It was new for me, but I was like, I have to invest, because once I just break that paradigm, even if it's not the right fit or whatever, it's going to show me. And dude, he's doing all our tracking, like for all the accounts, like stuff that gosh, dude, I mean, anyone could do it, but it's just like, running the ads. He's editing some videos of ours right now. We're training him on like how to, learn some of the stuff Jake has. He does the design. He'll make this thumbnail, right? Like stuff that like, I mean, so it does, once you kind of like, okay, like you got Carlos, I'm sure once you saw he was learning, and even just seeing the progress, you were probably like, whoa, like I can't go back to just solo. Like
I've thought about it before, like you said, like going back and like getting on the phone and like closing sellers. Like I could do it, but it's not something I want to go back and do. I think I was good at it, but there's better people. I think that's what people have to realize is there's someone that's as good as you, if not better. There's definitely better people out there to do the task that you think you're like so good at.
And that's freedom, bro.
Yeah.
That's the freedom. And the last thing I want you to touch on is when we've spoke to just like your kind of vision or really where you feel like that, just that next evolution is kind of to be more involved with like the design, right? Like the architecture. I don't know if that's changed, but like,
I mean, that's the part that I enjoy the most in the business. If I were to do something and money didn't matter, it would probably be design or construction on that side of things. Just because I studied architecture when I was young and like I had a passion for that. I still love it. Just taking a step back from the day to day and doing the things that I enjoy the most inside the business. Maybe they don't. Doesn't matter that much, or it's not what really moves the needle in the business, but it's what I like doing. But taking a step back and getting into more development. Obviously now there's still tweaks to be made. There's still things that have to happen to make the business like run by itself. But slowly, I'm getting more and more time to be able to put time into projects and developments and stuff like that. The stuff that I really, really like
and family enjoy. And just like traveling, or I know you have a kid, and just all of that. I can see just through our conversation, like that we've had. Like I can just tell, like it's like that dance. It's like you gotta kind of facilitate the growth and be the steward of the seed, but you also like. You got to be involved and kind of, So I see that, dude. Like I see that just your ability to now kind of take that step back and just, it's still a process, but I can see that's kind of like I know that we share that in common, that end goal of like just seeing it kind of executed to perfection, just over and over.
Yeah, without you having to pull the strings of it and everything,
No string, just...
Yeah. I guess I've said it before, but like that's every business owner's dream, I think, is to, create a business. Of course, it's going to be hard work in the beginning. You got to put your time in, get everything in place. And that could be a 5, 10, 20-year process for some people. But then to have a business that is developed, that is profitable, that doesn't need you there at all, that just runs by itself. I mean, obviously, that's how all big businesses operate. But us little guys, like, that's our dream, is to be able to step back from the business and go do the things that we really enjoy. So, it's a process. Like, it could take someone, like I said, a long time. But if that's your goal, I mean, some people love what they do and want to do that every single day. So it's different for different people. Obviously, I love real estate. It's not that I'll always be involved in real estate. I'd always want to be in the business, but not having to be in the business is an important step.
Yeah. Like once you if you want to choose to be involved, or like you said, just knowing who you are and knowing that, I really love doing that. I love running the ad, or I love, remodeling the floor or painting, then that's what somebody loves, But if you love to like I like the system. I like to see it just like a symphony, just there it goes, That's what I like. So I think that was good. Yeah, dude. I really appreciate it. I thought it went well.
Awesome.
Thanks for sharing your story. And
of course.
We got to come back here with Carlos.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, sweet.
All right.
Thanks, bro.
No worries.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.